What's up, everybody? Superx fan here for another weekly update. So if you might be able to tell from my voice, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather here, but the show must go on. But I apologize if I sound kind of off in this video. But I'm going to skip the car portion again this week because there's nothing new with the Mustang once again, and there's a good amount of news to get to this week. But I will be doing a couple videos with the Mustang here, probably in the next week or two. So stay tuned for that. But the first thing this week is another Dodge Demon teaser. So this one kind of shows off it launching, and the teaser video shows it doing a quarter mile, and it looks very fast, and it has a very interesting I guess you would call it a boost primer kind of thing for the launch control, and it uses basically something similar to on a turbo system would be anti-lag, but in this it's kind of priming the supercharger and building up boost that can be released ahead of time so that you don't have to wait for the boost to come on. It'll have that boost ready to go and build up pressure in the system, and then the way that this system in the Demon's designed is it's going to use the computers to adjust the fuel flow and spark and that boost all perfectly so that it puts down power exactly the way that it's supposed to get the fastest time. So very advanced computer stuff going on here. And so that's all we really see here from this teaser. They also show the same 757 number for on the clock there for the info that you see, but we still don't know if that 757 is the horsepower. What recently has been talked about is that is the torque number, and that the horsepower is 815 horsepower, and that's because on the one tire shot, which I actually missed in the past, it says 815. I thought it said 315, but when you look closer, it's actually 815. So that could be a pretty good hint. 815 horsepower. Be a good boost over the Hellcats output as well. But either way, very exciting to see that. And only a couple more weeks left until we see the full unveil at the New York Auto Show. Another car that gets an awesome launch control system is the new 2018 Volkswagen Golf R. Now, the Golf R and all the other new Golfs, the 7th gen Golfs, have already it's like an update to the 7th gen Golf. Those have already been available in Europe for a couple of months now, but it should be coming to North America here soon. But anyway, this teaser that Volkswagen posted shows this Golf R performance options thing. And so I don't know if they're going to be available individually or if this is just like a higher performing trim of the Golf R. And I don't know, again, if this is only coming to Europe or if we're getting all this in the States as well. But it's a pretty cool teaser that shows off some 17-inch brakes. It shows off this launch control system. It has adjustable ride height going on. It's got a sweet new exhaust from Akrapovic, and then it also has a few different aero mods, a rear diffuser. It has Pirelli Trofeo R tires, so it'll do 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds here with this launch control, and it has a top speed supposedly, or at least in the video it was shown doing 166 miles per hour. So very promising there, and I think that Volkswagen's really kind of leading the pack here with the innovation with the new Golfs and how nice the interiors are, the digital gauge cluster, all that kind of stuff that all the other competitors from Subaru and Ford, I think that makes them look kind of dated at this point. But so yeah, very cool to see that. One cool news story that came out at the Geneva Motor Show last week was apparently the CEO of McLaren spoke to Car and Driver in an interview and basically confirmed there's going to be a long tail or LT version of the McLaren 720S. Now, considering how the 675 LT was so successful and so popular, it only makes sense. I mean, McLaren has higher performing versions all the time. I mean, look at the MP412C and how it evolved into the 675 LT with 4 or 5 different models in between, and so you can expect something similar here with the 720S. This is the starting version, and there's going to be all kinds of enhancements, I'm sure, down the road. So very cool to hear that. Other supercar, hypercar news here is there was more info dropped about the Mercedes-AMG Hypercar this past week, and so we know it's going to be shown at the Frankfurt Motor Show in the fall here, or in September, and we also know that it's going to have a motor straight out of an F1 car, really. It's a little 1.6-liter turbocharged V6 hybrid engine, and that might sound really slow, but it's supposed to be doing over 1,000 horsepower. So you can imagine a 1.6-liter engine making over 1,000 horsepower is probably not going to be very reliable. But Mercedes confirms that by saying here that they said that every 31,000 31,000 miles, this thing is going to require basically a complete engine rebuild. And that's a lot more reliable than an actual F1 car. So they kind of achieved this happy medium by limiting the RPMs to only 11,000 RPMs here for this engine. There's only going to be 300 of these, by the way. I think they're already all spoken for anyway. But yeah, it's going to use electric motors as well to power at least the front wheels. So it's going to be crazy fast either way, but pretty crazy though. 31,000 miles, this thing's going to need an engine rebuild. I mean, most of these hypercars, you look at Veyrons, stuff like that, most of them never even get to 31,000 miles, but it's just going to be something on the mind of every owner of one of these, like, keep the miles down, otherwise you're going to be spending tons of money. But if you're spending millions of dollars on one of these, you can probably afford an engine rebuild, even if it is another $500,000 or $1 million for that. But yeah, so very interesting to hear that though. Another story from Mercedes is they've confirmed they're not going to be doing the X-Class pickup truck here in North America, and they just can't justify it because it's supposed to be like a premium mid-size truck, but they don't think anyone's going to buy it over a full-size truck for the same kind of money, which I beg to differ. I think that a lot of people would welcome a Mercedes truck, and even if it isn't quite as big as an F-150, I don't think anyone's going to be taking their Mercedes truck to work sites. It's supposed to be more of a luxury truck, almost kind of like a Honda Ridgeline or something, obviously more capable than that. But anyway, they've decided not to sell it here. Maybe eventually they will change their mind, but for now we're not getting the X-Class truck. Another Mercedes vehicle that was spied that we are getting is the new Mercedes CLS, which is, of course, the coupe version of the E-Class, essentially. It's been around for a long time now. They kind of invented this coupe sedan thing with the CLS. So this new one, we're seeing, smaller headlights, but a similar kind of silhouette here, and looks very nice. We even got a perfectly clear shot of the interior with no camouflage on it whatsoever, and looks very good as well, much like, the current E-Class, which is stunning inside. So very cool to see that. Also, Maserati was spied testing the 2018 Ghibli, and it's just a refresh, basically. So you can see there, it's got some new headlights, front bumper, and then the back end there, they've tweaked the rear bumper as well, and I'm sure there's some other improvements too, but that's all we can really see from these spy shots here, but cool to see that. Lamborghini was spied testing a new variant of the Aventador. Now, I'm not really sure. A lot of people are saying this is a Performante version, which kind of makes sense, although, that's for, there's obviously the new Huracan Performante that just came out last week, but they're saying that they could be just basically applying the same active aero to the Aventador and make it kind of one-up the SV, which is pretty crazy considering the SV has always been the top dog for the V12s, but it'll be interesting to see if this is a new top dog or if this is some stripped-out lightweight version or what they're going to be doing here with the Aventador Performante. Now, this spy vehicle doesn't have any of that active aero on it, so I think that's just what everyone's assuming it's going to have, and that's what some sources have claimed according to Auto Guide here. So we'll have to wait and see, but otherwise right now it's just looking like a standard Aventador S just out running around. Toyota this past week announced the Toyota 86 860 edition, which it's just a special edition version, much like the Scion Release series in the past, things like that. So it's a way to get basically all the nicer amenities you get with the BRZ Limited here in the Toyota 86. They're only building 860 of them in this color they're calling Supernova Orange. They're also doing 860 units in Halo White as well, but they didn't want to say the 720 edition for whatever reason, so they're calling it the 860 since it's, the Toyota 86. They all come with these black stripes. It gives you a rear wing, the heated side mirrors, and LED fog lights as well, which you usually don't get. But the kicker here with this 86 Special Edition is because it's a special edition, I suppose, it's more expensive. So the manual version of this 860 version costs $30,040, and so that's for the manual, just starting price. But considering you can get a 2017 Subaru BRZ Limited, which has all the same equipment, for $28.5 roughly, you're paying $1,500 more for the orange paint and stripes essentially. And another kicker, in the pictures that Toyota provided for this, it looks like the automatic climate control is the old controls that were from the 2013 to 2016 BRZ Limiteds. It doesn't have the nicer knobs that you get in the 2017 BRZ, which really I think goes a long way to help with making the interior look a little more refined. They nicely improved those, as you saw in my 2017 BRZ review. So it seems like they're kind of putting the 86 at a disadvantage almost, because it just seems like the BRZ is better equipped for the money. And get all your cars and coffee jokes ready to go here for this next story. And that is that Ford announced this past week that they're adding a pedestrian detection system for the Fiesta, the F-150, and the Mustang this fall. So now they had some types of systems like this in the past, but this one's more advanced. It uses a bumper-mounted radar and a windshield-mounted camera to scan the road ahead, and then it'll alert you if there's any pedestrians in your path, both in the daytime and the nighttime. They're very proud of the fact that it also can just work off the car's headlights, even if there aren't any street lights, and then it'll automatically apply the brakes if the driver doesn't heed the system's warnings. So it relies on basically a library of pedestrian shapes, they call them, and those shapes is what it compares constantly to what it's seeing on the road, and if it gets a match, it freaks out and will make sure you don't hit that thing. But it just applies the brakes. It doesn't do any of this swerving like the new Volvo system or anything like that. But apparently this windshield camera takes over 30 snapshots every second to constantly scan the road. And so yes, usually Mustangs, when they exit cars and coffee, are already out of control. But who knows? Maybe the system will help those that are challenged leaving a cars and coffee meet. Anyway, this is going to first arrive on the European 2018 Ford Fiesta in a few months, and then in August it's going to be available on the 2018 F-150. Now this is an optional available thing. This isn't like standard equipment or anything, thankfully, because I certainly wouldn't want this on my Mustang. But it will be available, they're saying, for the 2018 Mustang in November. Now I'm not sure if November is a delayed rollout for this system, or if we're not seeing any 2018 Mustangs until November. We've been hearing all kinds of reports about when the 2018 Mustang will actually be on sale, ranging from some people saying as early as September to other people saying October or November. Now, it sounds like they're doing a similar release to the 2015 Mustangs, and those didn't start hitting dealers till late October. So that may be what we're in for here, and that certainly lines up with this report that the 2018 Mustang will be available with this pedestrian detection system in November. But interesting to hear that. And lots of electric news this week. The first is Lucid has announced that their Air car that they just revealed a couple of months ago, it's going to be starting at $52,500 after a tax credit. Now, so it's going to be $60,000. There's a $7,500 government tax credit, but that undercuts the base model Tesla Model S by about $8,000. Which is, I think they're really trying to come in aggressive and beat the Tesla in every numerical way. So the base model Air will have 400 horsepower and 240 miles of range, which beats the 382 horsepower of the Tesla, and it's 219 miles of range. The base Air, they also say, comes with all the hardware necessary for autonomous driving. It comes standard with 12-way power seats, a 10-speaker sound system, LED headlights, and it has all the touchscreens and all that kind of stuff. You can, of course, upgrade your Lucid Air to have 315 or 400 miles of range, and you can get around 1,000 horsepower in one of these things if you want to pay for it. And in addition, you can also get a glass roof, reclining rear seats, a 29-speaker sound system, 22-way power front seats with heating, cooling, active bolsters, and a massage function, which is something that isn't even offered in the Tesla. But one of those fully loaded ones will be over $100,000. But yeah, very interesting to hear that $52,500 is pretty reasonable and might even eat into some of the Tesla Model 3 pre-orders and stuff. Who knows? Because I think this thing looks better than the Tesla. That's just my opinion. But I think this Lucid Air looks fantastic. And if they can actually bring it to market, and if it actually is reliable and improves to be as good as the Teslas as far as driving and whatnot, then they really have something here, and it has a lot of potential. Other electric car news is Audi announced that they're planning 3 new electric vehicles by 2020. And but with the whole Volkswagen Dieselgate thing, the whole Volkswagen group is just going straight for electric. They're like, let's just get rid of the gasoline engines for the most part and just go fully, go in the direction of fully electric eventually. And so 3 new electric vehicles by 2020, mostly SUVs, most likely. They also announced in the same press release here that the next generation Audi A7 is going to be coming in 2018, and that's also when they're going to be debuting the production version of the Audi Q8. And then they say that a new Audi Q4, which will be smaller to be positioned obviously in between the Q3 and the Q5, will be coming for the 2019 model year. So very interesting to hear that. Other Volkswagen Group news is that Porsche announced some more details about their Mission E concept, which they're going to be building here, we know. And so in an interview with Autocar, the company chairman Oliver Bloom was talking about how the Mission E will have similar kind of stages as all the other Porsche models, with faster versions, the more expensive ones and things like that. They say that the Mission E, though, will sit in a segment below the Panamera, so it should be cheaper than a Panamera possibly, or at least be smaller than one. They're saying it'll offer a 311-mile electric range with a 15-minute charge time, and again, you'll be able to get with different levels of power. They also said that there could be some kind of over-the-air updates, so you can pay to upgrade your vehicle. For example, he mentioned from 400 horsepower to 450. Again, that's just a possibility, not confirmed or anything, but interesting there. They also said that the prototypes of the Mission E production version are currently being put together, and they're going to start testing them here this summer, and they're going to be under a 2-year development cycle. So don't expect these things to be hitting the streets here in customer hands probably for 2.5 or 3 years. So it's still a little ways out, but it sounds like it's going to be very, very promising once it is out. They said they're also working with Hitachi, the Japanese electronic company, to provide the technology required to do 80% charge in just 15 minutes. They're also working on building up the infrastructure to actually provide these electric charging stations. They also say it's going to be available with level 4 autonomous driving. And so this Oliver Bloom is quoted as saying, "There are situations in traffic jams where you will be able to read a newspaper, but our customers take pleasure from driving, and this will remain." So it sounds like the autonomous stuff will be there whenever you want it, but it'll nicely fade away into the background whenever you don't, which is very cool. And so interesting to hear all that. Acura announced their new MDX Sport Hybrid pricing here for 2017. It's going to be going on sale in April, and it's going to be $52,935, so $53,000. And this being the Sport Hybrid, it actually is the fastest SUV that Acura has ever made, the most powerful, and all while being fairly fuel efficient for an SUV. It uses the same super handling all-wheel drive system with 3 electric motors that the Acura NSX actually uses, although this only has a naturally aspirated 3-liter V6 versus the 3.5-liter V6 in the NSX. So it's less power than an NSX, of course. But yeah, so I mean, it's only $1,500 more than a normal non-hybrid MDX. So for that $1,500 more, you get an additional 31 horsepower for a total of 327 horsepower and 289 pound-feet of torque. It'll do 26 miles per gallon in the city, 27 on the highway. So most of your gains there are in the city, where it's much lower for the standard MDX. And then it even has a 7-speed dual clutch transmission for handling the shifting. So sounds pretty promising. It's got torque vectoring to help it in the corners, and it's still a big heavy SUV, but I think they got some nice ingredients here to make it somewhat of a enthusiast drive. If you have to have an SUV that seats 7 people, this may be a cool way to go. And 2 different vehicles that were spied, thanks to you guys, viewers who sent me in. One video here by Ronaldo from the Cruise to Lose Instagram page. He actually sent me a video here of this camo'd SUV that was driving around Los Angeles. And when you look at the footage here, I don't really know what it is. Judging based off of the taillights and the headlights there, I would guess that this is some form of a Mazda or Infiniti, just based on the styling language there. You can see through the camouflage. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you have any ideas on what you think that actually is. Very interesting, and thanks again to Ronaldo for sending that in. And then Matthew Dvorsky also sent me, or Dvorsky, I might have butchered that, I apologize. He also sent me pictures of what I thought was the same prototype, because he also spotted this in Los Angeles. But when you look and compare the taillights, they're different. It's definitely a different SUV. And I'm not sure, he said it looked to him like some kind of Infiniti, but those taillights, the one taillight shot is a dead ringer for a Maserati taillight. And considering, Maserati wanting to broaden their revenues, I would assume they would want to work on another SUV, because the Levante is very nice, but it's also a little bit on the larger side. So if they have a smaller SUV to slot beneath the Levante to be a little bit more affordable, that's what this kind of looks like. It looks pretty a little bit smaller than a Levante, but again, this could even be the same vehicle or a different trim of the other vehicle that was spied. So yeah, not sure. Infiniti, Mazda, Maserati, let me know in the comments below what you think it is. And huge thanks once again to both of them for sending that in. If you guys ever do happen to spot any kind of prototypes out running around, and you can safely get a picture or a video of it. I would love, you can always email me on the link below in the description there. You can always email me and send in some pictures or videos, and I'll be sure to include them in the weekly updates. That's really cool, because I haven't seen any news outlets covering either of these vehicles yet. So very cool that you guys were able to share those with me. One last thing I want to do here before I wrap up is a lot of you commented in last week's weekly update about why I didn't talk about the Alpine A110, which debuted at the Geneva Motor Show. And it's honestly, it kind of slipped my mind, but it's also one of those forbidden fruit things because we don't get that here in the States. And, it is very cool, though, for those of you in Europe, and I did want to touch on it here briefly. So the Alpine A110. Now, the Alpine is like a sportier subdivision of Renault, and it harkens back to the Alpines of the 60s and 70s, and it's very retro in its styling. I have to say, it looks gorgeous. I absolutely love the way it looks. And it, again, has all the right ingredients for a really awesome sports vehicle. Now, this is supposed to kind of compete with a Porsche Cayman, something like that. It's mid-engine, 2 seats. It's a coupe, of course, here. It uses a 1.8-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that was developed with this Renault-Nissan alliance. It does 252 horsepower, and it'll do 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, thanks to it being super light. This thing only weighs less than 2,400 pounds, which is crazy. To put that into perspective, that's like 400 pounds less than a BRZ. So really impressive. I mean, it looks beautiful. But yes, they've confirmed it's not coming to the United States. They don't, Renault isn't in the States. They don't have any kind of dealership network. There's no way to sell these things in the States, sadly. They said they're focusing on continental Europe first, and then they're going to branch out to the UK and Japan. So any of you over there in those places, you'll be able to get one of these, but we won't be getting them here in the States, sadly. It is going to be more expensive. They said it could be up to 10,000 euros more than a base Cayman, and considering the Porsche Cayman is so well loved and liked by everyone, this thing definitely has its work cut out for it, but it's certainly a cool alternative to all those other mid-engined little sports cars, and so very cool to see that. But yeah, so that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know all your thoughts about everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.